Hello and welcome to VistaTalks, interesting discussions with interesting people from all around the world. I'm your host for today, Priscillia Charles, and I'm joined today by the magic of the internet by Shannon Rose Farrell-Jackson. You're very welcome, Shannon. We're delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you so much. We're really excited to have you. Shannon, you're the founder and principal at Sharron Rose Consulting LLC. And I'm going to start the show in a few seconds by asking you questions about yourself, your activity, and for our audience who don't know you yet and who will be, I'm sure, very curious and have loads of questions afterwards, after the show. So let's move on and get on to the show. So Shannon, first of all, can you share with our audience a little bit of information about your background and how you came to be interested in life sciences?
Sure. So I've been in life sciences for many years, always had a connection and draw to that. But I started off in a really small tech company here in Minnesota that helped veterinarians through the grieving process. And from there, I just had this insatiable need to help other companies that were helping people and that were helping our world. And life sciences aligns really nice to that. So from, working in this small tech company, I got a real great insight into what it felt like to work with technology and how to use technology to help companies and help companies who help others. And so I finally landed in the localization industry where I saw this insatiable need. This huge need to help life science companies in their, global processes, but also to just help companies service life science companies. Yes. in the life science industry. Mm-hmm. And I saw this need to treat those companies a little bit differently. They're doing a big job in our world and they need to be serviced and helped in a little bit of a different way. So that's how I got my start in life sciences. That's kind of what ignited me to start off.
That's great. That sounds very interesting. And so I understand that you studied psychology in the first place and sociology at the University of Minnesota. What is it that triggered such a peculiar interest in the topic? Is it always the need of understanding people and helping people somehow?
Yes, that's exactly it. You'll see through my career and in everything that I do, there's people, right? I am 100% an extrovert. I have very little introvert in me, which means that I'm energized by people and I'm energized by helping people.
Yes.
And so psychology really, that fed my insatiable curiosity to want to know about how people work. What drives them, right? What drives them so that I can help them better? And I actually attended quite a few colleges around the world. I went to the University of San Diego, the University of Queensland in Central Queensland in Australia, where I learned to play international rugby. And then finally, I graduated from the University of Minnesota here in Minneapolis. But when I was studying, it really helped me to figure out, okay, these people have something in them and I want to help them clear those blocks, clear those issues so that they can go on and be better versions of themselves, which then of course ripples through our world and makes it a better place. So that's how I landed here today working in emotional intelligence and change leadership.
That's fascinating. Thank you so much. Very curious to know about the positions you've held after studying. So you talking about other positions you've held. You've worked in the life sciences sectors for a while now. Can you share with us your experience and what changes you've seen in the sector? Having studied towards working helping people and then ending up in the life sciences sector.
Sure. Well, in my career I've worked with some of the largest life sciences, med tech, and healthcare companies in the world. So Abbott Medical, Medtronic, Boston Scientific, Danaher. Most recently I'm working with United Health Group. And I've helped build out central programs ranging from content development and localization to central change programs and culture transformation programs, all working towards the same goal and vision of helping these companies reach their customers and their employees. And so life sciences and healthcare are making huge changes, right? They're being forced to, because they're being pressured to become more economical and to become more customer friendly.
Yes.
So the three biggest things that I'm hearing about in the industry right now are around the customer experience, right? How are we helping that customer experience globally? Around usability, so the usability of the products, the technology, and the content and collateral that surround these products, and global accessibility. And those are the three big things that I'm hearing about right now in the industry.
And that is a big change compared to the requirements, or like what you would have, what your clients in the past would have asked, correct?
Oh, for sure. They were focused on, design, innovation. They were focused internally on their product and competitors. And now it isn't even as important that they're competitive or that they are the best, but they need to be perceived as the best. And actually the products that are most accessible and that are easier to use, even if they aren't the best products, those are the ones that are actually shining in these times.
Okay, thank you. And speaking of the life sciences sector, so we're talking about the different aspects of the industry and what customers are looking for those days. Now, we understand that technology always plays a large role. And what would you say? Can you share a little bit of, your thoughts on this? Considering
Sure.
that, you're saying like you'd have clients who would have looked for more innovation now, and now, people are looking maybe for more customization, or, there's always something different coming back. But is technology not always part of, the big picture?
Yeah, it absolutely is part of the big picture. Technology, it runs through almost everything that we do. It's how we communicate. It's how we're communicating right now. But it's meant something different over the years to life sciences. So from what I can see right now, even going global right now, it's not even just about sales. It's not about how many things we can sell. It really is around how we're supporting and leveraging our global customers and their experience, right? How are we reaching out to the individual? How are we connecting with the individual? Because right now, the individual has a lot of purchase power right now, right? They have a large influence into the market. And how individuals are behaving becomes how societies are behaving, which then influences how we are, using and leveraging these life science and healthcare and med tech products. So the users and customers are really driving these massive changes we're seeing in the industry, So even as our political climate continues to escalate, or, healthcare becomes something that needs to evolve and adapt to be more economical or accessible. I mean, these are all things that we as providers and to that industry need to be thinking about. How are we helping them access their customers more easily, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Quicker, in more of an agile type way. So we're not, developing content or processes that can't adapt, in the moment. So, I think we should constantly be looking at ways to do things, that are more accessible, more affordable, quicker to access, things like that. So those are just some of the things that I'm focusing on in my own business, but I encourage others to do.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. That is very interesting, and I believe that's great advice for any company, at the moment. And I'm wondering, when it comes to life sciences company, so you've just shared your thoughts, on technology's role. What would be your thoughts about how, they go global, and what are some of the lessons or tips you could share?
Sure. So when it comes to going global, like I said, I think we're moving away from just pure sales.
Yes.
And some of the tips that I've found are, in order to build globalization, localization, or global processes, or global solutions for companies, you really need to get in and see what that company is all about.
Yes.
And especially now with them changing. So if they're a company that, for instance, I mentioned agile, if they're a company that has a culture of agile, that means that they're operating quite differently than other companies are. Like I said, if you're looking at content solutions, they're probably coming out with little bits of content more quickly. So how do we, as let's say localization providers, how do we match our processes to mimic what's going on in those companies, to match the pace, to how do we alter our technology, how do we hire the right people to be able to think proactively and to be able to react in the moment? How do we have quicker turnarounds to match these agile needs so that these healthcare companies can continue to get immediate and quick feedback from their environment so they can be adapting and be successful? Because ultimately that's our goal. We want our med tech life science companies to be more successful. Absolutely. So that we can continue to help them really help our world.
Great. Thank you so much. That's a very valuable tip that we can certainly share with our audience. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit, I'd like to talk about your current role. You founded Shannon Rose Consulting, consultancy agency aiming at helping companies grow and understand their customers better, something that we just talked about. What made you start your own business? Can you expand a little bit on this for our audience today?
Sure. Well, as I've stated, I've always been driven by helping our world. And when I created Shannon Rose Consulting, it was out of that need to make our world a better place. And so in doing that, I've always aligned with for-profit companies, large for-profit life science companies. But what I've noticed is there's this gap in helping them grow and be a for-profit company, but still do good in the world. Align their corporate visions to socially responsible goals. So that's why I did that, was to help large global companies who have the infrastructure and the resources to make our world a better place, right? They already have global locations. They've got thousands, hundreds of thousands of employees. They have, resources and funding. And I wanted to help them realize that by starting with their own corporate culture and making their corporate culture a better place for their employees, they can then help drive their employees to be better people who can take that out into their communities and make their world a better place. So I developed Shannon Rose Consulting, which then helps companies transform their corporate culture in that way. And I really do dive in and start with the individuals. How do large companies impact individuals in that way to make that true change from the inside out?
Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah, I suppose you always have to start with the individual. That is so, what would be the word I'm looking for? That is so important, of course, and start with the person, seeing what the need is, understanding the person better, the core of the business, really. What do customers want? What anyone wants, really. Yes. So thank you so much for sharing this. Now, I understand we're talking about the mission that you've set yourself. You're talking about what you've developed for your customers, for your past and current customers and future customers. Now, your strategy relies on emotional intelligence. Can you explain
Yes.
a little bit more about emotional intelligence? I'm really interested because I did see a presentation of yours at a conference where you were talking about the concept of emotional intelligence and talking about your daughter, coming up with a certain speech, reacting to what you were telling her. And I'm really fascinated to hear more about emotional intelligence and how important it is for global organizations nowadays.
Sure. Yes, my children teach me a lot about emotional intelligence. I feel our kids are so much more emotionally in tune. So it's actually important that we pay attention to our children right now because I feel they're unbridled and their ability to discuss their emotions and show their emotions and leverage their emotions
Yeah,
is incredible.
absolutely.
Us as adults, we we stuff our emotions down a lot more than they do. So, but emotional intelligence is a tool I've used knowingly and unknowingly my whole life.
Mhm.
It's emotional intelligence is literally a mix of how we show and perceive and express our emotions, how we develop and maintain social relationships,
Mhm.
how we cope with challenges, how we use emotional information in a meaningful way. And so, if you think about emotions and business, for a long time, emotions have been cut out of business, right?
Yeah.
Leave your home life at home. Leave you need to be calm and cool and under control at all times. Well,
Yes.
our business ecosystem is changing drastically.
Yeah. And so
And this
quickly.
is, yeah, it's so quickly, and people are unable to segregate their emotions from business. And
Mhm.
now we're being encouraged to really bring our whole selves to work
Mhm.
because bringing our whole selves to work is what makes things differently. Human connection is what's actually driving more profitability and innovation and more collaboration, better relationships with our, consumers, with our customers, with, throughout. And so emotional intelligence is how we can help control and leverage that in a meaningful way. So it's not just people coming and, and having these big emotions without there being some sort of, a positive effect of it.
Yes.
So emotional intelligence, it encourages us to look beyond the work and beyond just these, the facade of these individuals, and it helps us connect at that more meaningful way. And I truly believe that that is how the future of our world and our business is going to be. We are constantly, with remote workforces, with global businesses,
Absolutely.
going to be weaving in and out of our work and our personal lives, and taking care of our families, our extended families and our communities. I feel like, we should be moving away from these 40-hour work days, and we should be having more time to volunteer and give back. We should be having more time to, work on the things that bring us joy and love. And so in doing that, we need to have tools in place to help us weave in and out of our lives, to leverage those emotions in a meaningful way. And emotional intelligence does just that. It helps us create safe spaces and connections to be able to do that and be our true selves.
Absolutely. No, no, that's 100% agree. And I suppose, particularly in a scenario, in a situation like the ones where a lot of people are facing at the moment, um, um, it is extremely important and to keep this contact and use tools that we have, video tools like Skype, or just make sure to keep um, uh, in touch with everyone and really understanding what everybody wants. At this moment, I believe we're all remotely working, not necessarily a choice of ourselves, but I suppose in this
Right.
type of scenario, emotional intelligence really comes in. And I think it's a really good tip to share for organization and some companies who are slowly but surely allowing a lot of staff working remotely.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about how you're involved in various business nonprofit organizations as a mentor. I also found this, did a little bit of research about your career and your interest. Can you tell us a little bit about your involvement?
Sure. So actually, one of the groups, I volunteer at quite a few organizations, but one of the groups I just started is a peer mentoring group, another way for people to connect. I was trying to find a group where I could find big thinkers, people who wanted to think positively and come with a heart of compassion in light of, helping our world and making it a better place.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't finding a group that was doing that. And so I actually created a group called the Positive Change Lab. And our mission is to come together as a group of positive change leaders to solve our most important challenges and opportunities. And we help hold each other accountable. We meet monthly and ad hoc as needed. And it's based off of the lean in peer mentoring and peer coaching concepts. And so this really does help us create safe spaces for ourselves to be able to talk openly, to leverage emotional intelligence, to leverage each other in times like this, and to bring big thinkers and enable big thinkers of ways that they can make small, medium, and big changes in their lives. And in addition to the Positive Change Lab, I mentor at Team Women, which is a group here in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis. And it is all based on helping women to connect, to collaborate, to empower them to go out and be their true selves in their own way, and to leverage the power of themselves in the world.
It's fantastic.
And so I help mentor, all ages in that environment. And really what I find through mentorship is I go in thinking I will help these people, but really they help me in a greater way. I end up learning more.
You help each other. That's the most important. You learn for each other. That's fantastic.
That's right.
I suppose you learn every day, but that's fantastic. This giving back, to maybe younger people, who need, advice, from someone like you, could have, a lot of experience coaching and as a consultant, but also women, and that is something that we really value as women. So thank you very much for all the all the work that you do. And I'd like to ask you, is there any other project that you'd like to share, any secret project that you'd like to share with our audience that we could discover first, or would it be for another podcast?
Sure. Well, I am, so I coach and train in Muay Thai, which is Thai kickboxing. And I actually coach the children, my kids and others, at the Academy, which is a gym here in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And so it's combat Muay Thai and mixed martial arts. And I have been leveraging mixed martial arts in my empowerment goals, in my coaching methods for some time. But now I'm starting to collaborate with others through using Muay Thai to empower women to come alongside other methodologies like equine therapy and other wellness therapies, meditation, and mindfulness. And my current pet project is to bring those methodologies together and create virtual and in-person retreats to help incorporate physical, mental, emotional health and well-being, where people can not only come and feel rejuvenated, they can experience this deep healing, but they can also go back out into the world and feel, physically energized and empowered through that. So
That is
that's
absolutely
just one of my,
fantastic. That's a
yeah.
brilliant idea. You'd have to send us the link to those virtual trainings. I'd be very keen to log in to follow one of the sessions. So thank you so much. I'm sure our audience would be delighted. If you wanna share on any information later with us, and to our audience, if you have any questions for Shannon, please do not hesitate. We will share the questions as soon as the recording is ready. So Shannon, Rose, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time today. It is the end of today's show already with Shannon Rose Farrell-Jackson, founder and principal at Sharron Rose Consulting. Please make sure to tune in again to see or listen to the next VistaTalks show, where we'll be discussing more interesting discussions with interesting people from all around the world.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was absolutely my pleasure. Be well, everyone, and go out and make our world a better place for all. Thank you.